Mortal Shell, released August of 2020. Retailing for $29.99. Available on all modern platforms. Mortal Shell is what happens when you want to make a game like Dark Souls, but have no understanding of what is enjoyable about Dark Souls. You start out looking like a desiccated corpse. You have a short tutorial, which basically just serves to show you that you can turn to stone, which makes it so you can absorb one hit with no negative consequences. This ability has a fairly long recharge time, so it's not nearly as useful as you might think. We then start the game proper, where you find your first shell. There's a total of 4 shells throughout the game, and you can switch between them freely. They serve as basically a class system. You'll then be greeted by the game's combat. The shockingly slow and frustratingly clunky combat. All of your moves have a fairly long delay before they happen. Your enemies attack just about as slowly as you do for the most part, but despite the slowness, actually parrying anything is incredibly precise. I thought I would eventually get used to how the speed of combat worked. I never really did. This is made worse by the fact you can't level up the same way you could in a true Souls game. There aren't really stats to upgrade. You can level up each of your shells, but mostly this just gives them new moves or new gimmicks. Some of these might have been very useful, but you don't just level up with the game's universal currency. You need large amounts of that currency, but you also need something called glimpses. Glimpses also drop off of enemies, but are far, far, far more rare. But it is worth noting that if you are lucky enough to actually get glimpses, you don't lose them upon death. You'll lose any of your currency, but your glimpses stay on you. And in classic Souls fashion, you can get your currency back by going to the spot you died in. If you can find the spot you died in. A lot of this world is very similar looking, so remembering where exactly you are and how you got there can be an issue. The only way you could really get more powerful is by upgrading your weapons, which you have 4 of to go along with the 4 different shells you have to choose from. Any shell can use any weapon. They aren't a packaged deal or anything. And the materials for upgrades are found in specific locations, if you can find those locations. After about 10 hours, I gave up on this game. I found it to be an exercise in frustration. I had only found 2 of the shells by this point, and I'd only managed to get enough glimpses to upgrade one of my shells once. In that time, the combat never really clicked with me, as both your parrying and dodging are extremely limited, and the large 2-handed sword you start with is about as effective as a wiffle ball bat. I saw absolutely no reason to invest more of my time into this game, and I am someone who absolutely loves the Souls games. So, is Mortal Shell worth your time and money? Absolutely not. There are a lot of great games you can get for that $30. You could get Dark Souls Remastered for only $20, and the same goes for Dark Souls 2 and 3. And those are all examples of this kind of game done right, as all of those games are more than slow exercises in frustration. So save your $30 on Mortal Shell. There's a lot better things you can do with that $30. Please do like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends.